For more, let's bring in the Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee. He's also a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thank you so much for being here. As you know, your committee is holding a series of hearings on the Mueller report. John Dean will also testify this week. What's the purpose of these hearings, really?
Well, I think they're to have people who have knowledge of obstruction of justice and the obstruction of justice during Nixon's time to testify as to what they thought the Mueller report was saying, what the elements of obstruction of justice are, and what the comparisons are to the Nixon obstruction of justice. We're also going to have a Joyce, who's a typical NBC analyst, who was a Watergate prosecutor, and another person who's knowledgeable of these issues.
Yeah, and Politico is reporting that Chairman Nadler told the Democratic leaders in a private meeting that he could subpoena Mueller within 2 weeks if your committee fails to reach a deal on a public testimony. What's the likelihood of Mueller actually testifying before the committee?
I think he'll eventually testify. I wish he would come on his own, and that would be best if they could work it out. But if not, and we have to subpoena him, I think he will respond to a subpoena. He's not going to have Donald Trump tell him not to respond to a subpoena and not to show up. He's a Marine. He's an FBI, former FBI director. He's an honorable man. He'll show up.
And what are you hoping to accomplish if your committee, if the chamber votes on that resolution on Tuesday to hold Barr in contempt and McGahn as well?
Well, they need to be held in contempt, and we need to do all we can. I'm disappointed we're not using inherent contempt, but some of the attorneys we have who are outstanding attorneys think that would end up in the courts for a longer period of time because it hasn't been tried for such a long time. On the other hand, we haven't had such a contemptuous, blatantly contemptuous acts as just Barr's and McCain not to respond to subpoenas and to just totally thumb their nose at Congress.
And Congressman, really quick, you wrote in an op-ed there in Memphis that you were there in Normandy at the cemetery. What do you make of the president and his comments right there at those hallowed grounds?
Disgusting. You don't make such comments there. You don't make them in the same spirit. I mean, he was there. He held up the program with 15,000 people to talk to his favorite propaganda agent, Fox News. And then in front of those graves, he disparaged Nancy Pelosi, who's a great political leader, a great Speaker of the House. And I'll tell you, I know Nancy Pelosi, and she is outstanding. She's brilliant, and Donald Trump doesn't compare to her. There's no comparison whatsoever.
Yeah. And having had the experience that you had there, and then to hear the president say that, you now say it was disgusting.
When you see those graves and the crosses and the Stars of Davids, and you know the stories about the people that died there, two of Teddy Roosevelt's children are buried there and giving their life battling, and you get Bone Spurs come up there and talks in front of those stones and makes it political and says some of the most disgusting, awful, false things about Nancy Pelosi. The man needs to be, you know, he says you shouldn't talk bad about him when he's overseas. The truth of the matter is he's out of this world in every moment of his life, and so you really could never talk bad about him. The leader on the Republican side has not allowed the Democrats in our hearing Monday to say, because of rules of conduct, that he's a liar, that he's a grifter, that he's encouraged people to commit perjury, that he's obstructed justice, or any of these things. The rules of Congress and Jefferson's rules about the king, which apply to us, don't let us say the truth about him, just like the Justice Department didn't let Mueller indict him. We've got difficult situations, and the rules in place are not applicable for this man who is aberrant.
Not a loss for words there, Congressman Steve Cohen from Tennessee. Our thanks to you.